Alright, so we very recently just hit 10,000 subscribers. I'm going to be doing a Q&A, so if you guys have any questions you want to ask me personally, leave them in the comments of this video and I will try and get to them. Alright, enjoy the video. Alright, so just a few months ago, my friend Luke travelled from one end of England all the way to my end of England. Not only to have an awesome LAN party, which we did by the way, but also to show me his Sony XZ and to let me kind of review it a little bit. So hey guys, my name is Ryan Thomas with Failtech and this is my slightly late review of the Sony XZ. Alright, so let's start off with the build. Now, discarding build materials a second, this thing has a very close resemblance to a Sony Z3, a phone that I've already checked out. And we can compare those in a later video if you'd like, which is kind of like a 2 or 3 year jump. But instead of using glass on the back, it's aluminium and kind of rounds to the sides, but of course with that standard Sony look. So it's flat back, flat front, and rounded sides with some weird flaps covering the micro SD and SIM card slots, as opposed to one of those things where you use a SIM tool and it pops out. You get a headphone jack, but you also get a USB Type-C 2.0 connector, which is kind of cool. The screen to body ratio is pretty low at 71%, but you do get stereo front firing speakers, which is awesome. However, you do get on-screen capacitive nav buttons as opposed to off-screen buttons, which I would have preferred considering the screen to body ratio. Also, there are 3 awesome things about the body of this phone. 1, it has IP68 water and dust resistance, awesome. 2, it has a fingerprint scanner on the side, which is just rapid. It's so cool. And number 3, it has a half-step, that's right, 2-step shutter button for the camera, which is awesome. We've had them on Sony phones way back since the Sony Cybershot phones. They've been awesome, and it's even better to have one in a 2016 flagship. Overall, the design is kind of boring. Like, some people like it and some people hate it, but also some people just think, well, it's a phone. It doesn't need to look shiny, and that's for those kinds of people. It doesn't have those amazing glass materials, so no wireless charging here, and it doesn't have those sweeps and those curves. It does pretty much everything right. The 5.2 inch 1080p IPS display is good. It gets kind of bright and really kind of punchy. Not as punchy as OLED, but for IPS pretty punchy. But of course you don't get those deep blacks, and you really do notice it when you're using the phone in the dark. But considering you have those stereo front firing speakers, it's like a good multimedia experience. And of course you've got the headphone jack as well, so you've got plenty of options in terms of audio, and that coupled with the 1080p screen is plenty sharp enough and really good at pretty much everything. Apart from VR, that could be a little bit difficult. The size of the display isn't to everyone's taste. Some people like a slightly smaller display, some people like a huge display. I'm personally on the right side. I kind of like the larger displays with a smaller screen to body ratio. I'm on that kind of path where I like larger displays but in smaller phone bodies, which kind of make it easier to hold, and this doesn't really do either of those. It's a small screen in a fairly clunky body. Of course, since it's a 1080p display, the system on chip doesn't have to work as hard, translating to faster animations and fewer hangs. Mentioning the system on the chip there for a brief second, it's a Snapdragon 820 with 3GB of RAM, which is a great combination. Personally wish they went with 4GB of RAM, would have made it pretty much more future-proof, but with 3GB of RAM that's plenty for now. Everyday tasks run fine, and I really like the Sony skin. Like, I never used to, but I actually kind of like the Sony skin. It's fairly light, and of course Sony has offered the 8.0 Oreo upgrade, which gives you a decent experience overall. And of course, because it's a Sony, you'll be able to install your custom software off of Lineage or any website that you want. You get 32 or 64GB of fixed internal storage, which is a good selection, and you get microSD expansion so you can shoot all the photos and videos to your heart's content. Sony has always been good at making cameras. From their Cybershot phones back in the day to their FS7s to their A7Ss, which are really popular vlogging cameras at the moment. They're just really good at making cameras, and this one is no exception. A 23 megapixel camera with f2.0 glass translates to some pretty good looking images, although it does tend to oversharpen a little bit actually, which is weird because it's like processing on top of an already sharp image. Of course UHD video is offered, however the slowest video you can get is like 60 FPS 1080p. No super slow-mo options are kind of available here, but you do get that 2-step shutter button, which I really like. It's kind of awesome. You half press it to get focus, you full press it to get the actual shot, which most modern cameras have. And dropping down, you don't get optical image stabilization, you only get electronic image stabilization, which can be not that great, especially in low light, coupled with an f2.0 lens that isn't really that good. Of course it is faster than the cameras that we've had in the past, but it's not up to the likes of the V30 or the S7. Even though the Snapdragon Snapdragon 820 is a fairly good chip at efficiency, this phone does not have that great a battery life. It's got a 2900 mAh battery, which really isn't that big, and Luke gets a full day, but just about with light social media use. Any excessive gaming and video consumption will lead to a deteriorated battery that will not last you the whole day. So overall, the Sony XZ seems like a fairly safe choice. It's not overly gimmicky, it hasn't got any extras that really kind of seem pointless, and you do get a fairly stock experience and a phone that kind of just works. It's boring. It's got a good camera, a good screen, a good design, and it's fairly rugged. It hasn't got any extra features, so it's a safe one. However, for £250 on the used market, it is contending with a couple of big boys, the Samsung S7 and the OnePlus 3. Two phones which I would happily take over this phone every day of the week. But it's all down to preference. So guys, that's it from me. I would recommend the XZ, but I wouldn't have one personally, and that's just because the other options are plain better. Thank you all so much for watching. Please do like, dislike, comment and subscribe based on your thoughts, and please do support me on Patreon if you want. Ross is on there, he's pretty cool. Anyway guys, mine has been Ryan Thomas with Failtech, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.